Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. Imagine Kevin Stefanski with one of 32 highly coveted jobs, a head coach in the NFL. He gets there to Cleveland, then there's a pandemic, then he loses two starting DBs on the same day, and his best running back gets a concussion when he got hit by a linebacker teammate who then got carted off the field with his own injury. Kevin, you still happy you signed on for this? We've got Bud Shaw, More Sports, and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it is a Tuesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine. And we are powered into our 25th consecutive year exclusively right here where you're watching us, including cleveland.com. Bud Shaw is here on a Tuesday night. Hello, Bud. How are you? You've been here for at least 20 of those 25 years, which we appreciate very much.
I've had another birthday happen since the last time we talked, and I'm at that age in life, that stage in life where the only appropriate gift is that's left is a ear and nose hair trimmer. So I received one of those, and I'm thrilled, as you can tell.
How many birthdays in the Social Security range now, or what?
Somewhere, I like to say I'm in my 60s, Les.
Oh,
yeah.
As you know, one of my favorite stories of all time is yours, and that's the one where you gave up as a pitcher in high school, gave up back-to-back home runs to the leadoff batter and the second batter, and they were identical twins. Do I basically have that correct?
Yeah, I like to try to hide the fact that they were actually twin sisters and not twin brothers, but no, they were twin brothers.
Yeah.
It was Little League, so
did you think after you gave up the first one, did you think, this is pretty cool, why don't I just lob one in and see if he can do it? Because it'll be a story that'll make history 40 years from now.
Well, I was too distracted by the second brother running up to take his at-bat, sprinting from the dugout.
Before they changed their mind.
Exactly.
All right, so I'm thinking, in my illustrious career, there must have been something that equaled that or bettered that. So I thought of this. I'm near the end of my freshman year in college, and I'm ready to come home, and I had a chance to play on a couple of different Sandlot teams, and finally the Sandlot guy, the coach, decided on me over somebody else. And the reason he picked me over somebody else is that the Brush High School guys, went up to him and said, I know you're considering Les Levine, he's a terrific teammate and all that. In fact, would you believe that I think he's 17 or 18 years old, and we played with him in high school and high school and junior high and Little League. Do you know that he has never struck out in his life? So they start the story that I've never struck out ever, including Little League and Pony League. So now we're playing the first game, and I just come in from school, and I changed my uniform in the car, and I'm not playing, obviously. Now it's the bottom of the ninth inning, and we're in a one-to-one game with bases loaded and one man out. And Chuck, the coach, says, I got this guy who's never struck out in his life. All he's got to do is hit a ground ball.
Contact, right?
What's that?
Guaranteed to make contact.
Got to. And he's the only one who knows this. They could throw the ball anywhere unless Levine's not going to swing and miss. So naturally, I swing and miss on strike three. And in those days, they used to cover the Plain Dealer used to cover those games. And they asked Chuck, he says, how could I not have made that move? I'm putting in Les Levine. He hasn't struck out since he was in Little League. Not even then. And so somebody then went up to Chuck and said, you fell for that one too? This is the third year in a row somebody fell for that.
There was no fact-checking going on back then.
None. 216-575-0403. All right, interesting stuff going on. Let's start with the Indians. Mike Clevenger is going to get a start tomorrow night, and Zach Plesac is not. And what does that all mean? That'll be tomorrow night against the Twins.
Well, I think what we're hearing from Mantonetti are the phrases that all GMs learn to use when the alternative is to say something that could get a grievance filed. So what we hear is that tomorrow night, Mike Clevenger will give them the best chance to win. And there will come a time when Plesac gives them the best chance to win. But they can't make this sound punitive, so that's what they're saying. I happen to applaud the fact that Clevenger is coming back to the team, and I'll say the same thing when Plesac comes back. Did they make a mistake? Yes. Are these very, very extraordinary times? Absolutely, they are.
All right. Do you think they both? Do you think they both come back?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I just don't think anybody should get traded after one incident like this.
Right.
That's all.
Well, here's my thing.
I know they made it worse in their actions afterwards, but okay, let's move on from it.
Yeah.
I just think pitching is such a commodity in this league, and these guys are under team control. It's not like they have to make a decision with these guys because they're going to have to pay them a ton of money in the next year or two. I think Clevenger's not a free agent unrestricted until what, 2023?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm all for bringing him back in and getting him back in the rotation at some point.
So here's the question I have. You've got obviously Oliver Perez, who's very upset. I don't know. Lately, I don't know. They haven't said whether he's calmed down yet or not, but he's very upset about it. I've got to believe if it's not in the books, if it's not in the agreement between the Major League Baseball players and owners, I don't see how you can put to a vote of a teammate whether one of your guys should be kept or kept in the big leagues or dropped from the big leagues. I can understand Perez being upset, but I can't believe that Antonetti and company would allow him to be part of any decision-making process to bring him back.
Well, I don't blame them at all for taking into account the players' feelings about this, because there were some strong feelings. But did it actually get taken to put to a vote? I would be really surprised if they put the players in a situation like that, or if the players allowed themselves to be put into that position.
All right, let's move.
Go ahead.
I want to move over to football for a minute, or 50 minutes.
Oh, happier subject. Okay.
All right. Well, Grant Delpit suffers a season-ending injury, a torn Achilles tendon. That's a horrible blow for the kid, and the injury bug keeps hitting the Browns, and they keep. We talked about linebackers and other positions where the Browns were looking at guys a couple of weeks ago. Now they just can shake off those notes and redo them. They obviously decided they didn't want certain people. Now those certain people may be under consideration again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we talked about attrition this year, and we know that it's been has an expanded meeting with COVID floating around out there, and precautions that teams are trying to take to avoid contracting it. But we know that's probably going to happen during this season at some point, and you didn't expect to see this kind of attrition this early in camp,
Right.
Especially when the practices are fairly controlled. Not that they're not going all out, but it's certainly not the scrimmage, the 3-day scrimmage with Buffalo or some other team, or the preseason games. So you think without preseason games you could get through this period with a little less injury, but it hasn't been the case.
How about Belichick with the hill that he had at the Anna Maria, and then Mangini did a similar thing. If there was a penalty or offside or anything like that, immediately they just start running up the hill and don't stop till somebody comes and gets them.
Yeah, I remember when
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Bud Shaw with us. All right, we'll get Bud back in a minute. Earl Thomas is still available. Now is available. Would you sign him? Here's a guy, 31 years old, but he's got trouble in the locker room apparently with his teammates. And are they at the point where he's some guy you might want to go after? He's trouble in the locker room, trouble with the coach. But if he can play, but what about Earl Thomas? Any interest at all?
Well, we have to look at, this isn't just one team that he's sort of run afoul of. There's that famous picture of him leaving the field in Seattle after an injury and flipping the bird to his head coach. We know that Kansas City was close to signing him when Baltimore swooped in and offered him all that money. And I know for a fact now that Baltimore regrets it. he never really fit in that locker room. I think he had an interception on the first defensive series of the year last year, and then only had one the rest of the year. So it's not like he's coming off a great year.
Yeah.
I would stay away from him if I were them. It sounds to me like a guy that John Dorsey would swoop in and pick up and worry about the personality conflict later. But I don't think Stefanski and Andrew Berry are going to do that.
No, but I think at this point where there's some, they got to get some players. There's some urgency involved here, and I don't think they can be as picky as they were even a couple of weeks ago. There's some guys that you've got a red flag on, and sometimes you got to throw the red flag away.
Well, I think there are other options too. So there are other guys that can play safety out there. I also think Earl Thomas is going to look around the league at connections that he might have. One is Dan Quinn. You know, when he was in Seattle, he was his defensive coordinator, and Quinn, of course, is still down in Atlanta. I think he has talked before about wanting to play for New England. So I certainly wouldn't get into any kind of a bidding war hoping to get him if he's considering other options, and I think he probably is.
Bud Shaw is with us. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. If you'd like to get in and talk to him, you can email us during the show at reallesslevine@gmail.com. So Mike Clevenger will start tomorrow night. Grant Delpit out for the season with that Achilles tear. Adam Schefter is reporting that the Browns are interested in Earl Thomas. Facebook is where you can find us during the day, and you can respond to our questions of the day. All you have to do is wait till we pose them early during the day. You respond to them, and then we put them on the air a little bit later that night between 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll take a break. We'll come back in a moment. Bud Shaw with us. We are powered by cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions, or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Do you like Ohio State football? Would you like to get information from me, Doug Lesmerises, about Ohio State football without having to look at my face? We have got the plan for you. Become an Ohio State text subscriber through cleveland.com. You send a text, 614-350-3315. What do you get? 2, 3, 4 texts right in your phone every day about Ohio State football. Inside information, polls, voting, all kinds of things. You can be on our podcast. We take text subscriber questions on our Buckeye Talk podcast every week. If you really want to be involved with Ohio State football, in season or out of season, become an Ohio State text subscriber from cleveland.com. Send a text to 614-350-3315. 14-day free trial. What do you have to lose? $3.99 a month after that. 614-350-3315. I'll see you in your phone.
Tri-C is here for you. Now more than ever, you need a post-secondary education. So I encourage you to start your journey here at Tri-C. The majority of fall classes will take place online, but we've added a variety of formats to meet your learning needs, and we've taken many steps to keep you safe on campus. Whether you're ready to get started or your 4-year plans have changed, Tri-C is where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Hi, welcome back to More Sports and Les Levine. Les, Bud, the Browns secondary has received a number of injuries, which has depleted them. I want to show you a couple of free agent options that the Browns could look at to help alleviate that problem. The first one is Eric Reed. He was released in the spring by the Carolina Panthers, who are looking to rebuild. 28 years old, 7 NFL seasons. He recorded career highs in tackles, tackles for loss, sacks, and fumbles forced in 2019. Has 11 career interceptions in 99 games. The second option that the Browns could look at is Logan Ryan. Now, he's played cornerback his entire career, but his agent recently reached out to all 32 NFL teams to get them to take a look at him as possibly adding him as a safety. He's 29 years old, 7 NFL seasons with the Patriots and Titans. Recorded 113 tackles, 4 interceptions, 4 fumbles forced in 2019. And according to Ian Rappaport, he's seeking at least $10 million a year. A third option for the Browns could be Brandon Carr. He's a cornerback. Played 12 NFL seasons with the Chiefs, Cowboys, and Ravens, 34 years old. He's got 49 tackles, 6 passes defended in 2019, and has recorded 21 interceptions in 192 career games. The important thing to note about him is, in his 12-year career, he has never missed an NFL game. So Les, Bud, of those 3, are there any of those options that you might consider for the Browns to sign this offseason?
Well, first of all, I thought you were going to say, and he never struck out, but that must be some other story. But
Yeah.
do you have a problem, as I do, with you get to within 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks will be the first game, and no exhibition games. Do you have a problem with the fact that guys are out there with big names, big reputations, they want big money, they're coming off injuries, and somehow they're still acting as if they're the key to the Super Bowl? And I have a problem with, so far at least, the Browns haven't fallen for that trick, that ploy.
Well, yeah, I'd like them to see them look into Logan Ryan. I was unaware of a $10 million contract demand, if that is a demand still. You would think that number has got to go down, right, Les, if he really is interested in playing.
As every day gets closer to the kickoff.
Yeah, but I like the versatility there, and I like the fact that he's embracing the idea of playing safety. Now, he hasn't played it that often, so maybe that's a worry that you have 3 weeks left to get a guy ready for the season.
But don't you think he's volunteering for that because he's getting desperate?
Sure. Yeah, I think he sees that probably as his, landing spot for a few years after playing corner for so long. The one thing I used to look at less is these, with Eric Reed and some of these other guys, is you see them, they sign a contract and then they're gone. And you think, well, how valuable can they be to their team if they, that's what happens in this league when they start looking to manage salary cap. It happened with Tayshaun Gibson, everybody remembers. He signed a bigger contract with a good signing bonus a year ago, and I think then he was let go. So that wouldn't be the reason why it would scare me away from anybody these days. But of that group, I think Logan Ryan could make some sense if his demands aren't through the roof.
Do you think Stefanski is just going into the meeting with the coaches after practice and just shaking his head and saying, now I see what happens here, and I'm not sure how it happens, but it does happen?
Well, I bet the day that he got his positive COVID test, he was doing exactly that. What passes for good news there is when he comes back as a false positive. So hopefully they can get it together, get on the field, and we're going to see as few infections as we've seen in the NBA, but it's not that kind of sport.
No.
I mean, I know the NBA is physical, but it's not physical the way the NFL is.
Under the testing and all that, it's just so hard to believe that if I put in front of you a list of teams or a list of coaches that would have this false positive reading, of course you would take Cleveland as the team that had that happen to it. Why would things change over the years?
They certainly wouldn't be considered a long shot in that department.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. So all that considered, and all the extra stuff that Stefanski has to do as a new first-year head coach, can he I mean, we don't know enough about him to say, yeah, he can overcome it. He's done it in the past. We have no idea here.
Yeah, my hesitation in saying he can or will overcome it is I've felt that way about some coaches in the past, even though they were starting out. Not necessarily Freddie Kitchens, but I certainly thought that the roster was good enough last year that it would allow for Freddie to have some growing pains. I still think that about this roster, but let's check back in another week and see how many more casualties there are.
Yeah. Speaking of that,
offensively too, Les. Offensively, this from what I'm reading the same reports from the guys that are out there at camp, and I'm talking to some of them. And offensively, this team has not looked very good at all yet.
Well, you know something, you would expect that, but when you're hearing the actual words coming out of some of these respected people that you and I both know, it seems like it's a lot more than your everyday ability or attempt to overcome those kinds of things. It seems to me there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they still have some of the same issues they had last year in that whether you want to, OBJ is there, whereas he missed a lot of time last year in mini camps and OTAs and all that stuff. But they really, as a group, they really haven't had that much time on the practice field. And with a new head coach, a new coordinator, whether or not he's going to be calling the plays or not, he's still a voice in the offensive room. It's going to be it's going to be a real challenge. If they can pull this off, I think we've all been looking for signs that this is a good organization or that it's up to par with some of the good organizations in the league. If they can pull this off this year, given the challenges they've faced with a roster that's pretty much unknown to Stefanski or at least not well known, then I think we'll be able to sit back a year from now and say, this organization has the right head coach and has the right GM, and it's on its way finally.
There used to be a story about Woody Hayes at Ohio State when they would get ready to play Michigan, and he would talk about the seniors who'd look around the locker room and see all these guys throwing up, getting ready for this game, and then there were a bunch of freshmen who seemed to take it very easily and take it very well. And Woody's comment was, they don't know what they're in for. So when you know what you're in for, you get a little bit more nervous and you have a little problem adjusting. And that's one of the things Woody knew better than anybody.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we've been writing or interviewing coaches and players of these teams in Berea when they have a new head coach in, obviously they're trying to put the best face forward on it, but a lot of times it's a genuine feeling that they look around the locker room and they see talent and they think, oh, well, this has got to translate, right?
Yeah, except the same thing happens year after year.
Yeah, the coaching staff's got to be ready for this, right? And you're reminded, not just in this town, but in others, of just how much goes into building a really good organization. That's why people don't like to hear about Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and I get it. But those are organizations that when they make a big move like they did in getting rid of Earl Thomas, you might say, oh, they're so stupid. What did they do? Look at how much money they're carrying on their cap.
They cut bait.
They generally know whether this was a move that had to be made or not, and they made it accordingly. So not that they don't mess up, but they're pretty bright in those cities right now, and they've been around.
Winning does that, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you some credibility in the locker room if you're a front office and a head coach who's won before. That's why I think everything sounds good to these players, over the years when they're going into a season, because they don't really have anything to compare it to. They're looking around training camp, and we all know that when a new coach comes into a training camp, what's the first thing we write as media guys? Well, the club med from last year is gone. This guy's running a tighter practice. He's running a harder practice. He's making them run and pay for their mistakes, and all of that stuff. So they go into these seasons believing that this might be the one that turns it around. And as soon as it starts going south, they don't have anything to lean back on. They don't have to say, well, wait, this is Mike Tomlin. He's won before. Or this is John Harbaugh. He's won before. Or Ozzie Newsome's in the front office here. It's going to be okay. We just got to stick it out. So that's when I think things tend to unravel.
Yeah, and in baseball, one of the great moves, or basketball rather, one of the great moves I thought took place, although, and it worked, when Pat Riley was trying to woo LeBron James to come to Miami, and he just opens up the table and opens up his hand, and there's, what, six rings. If that doesn't impress you, I don't know what would.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie's version of that would have been the Pittsburgh Started It t-shirt. So it's a big drop-off from there, from those rings.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. It's just, all right, we don't know the answer to this, but do you think Stefanski can overcome the injuries, the COVID, and still have a successful season? Or you're guessing and wishing if you say yes?
Well, I think that the quarterback is going to be better. It sounds trite to say that because he didn't have a good year last year, but I still believe in his talent. And I think that's going to, and the fact that they have Chubb and, help me.
Hunt, Kareem Hunt you're talking about?
Yeah, Kareem Hunt, thank you. Chubb and Hunt for a whole season together, plus OBJ, plus Landry, plus Hooper. I think that they've got too much talent not to be a good team, and I think he's a good offensive coach who has called his own plays before, whether that's an ideal situation or not. So, yeah, I will pick them to win more than they lose this year.
It's just amazing how close the teams are in talent, and then when you break it down and you see injuries and experience and stuff like that, that makes the difference between a winning and losing season. We know quite often in the NFL is made to have games that are close and come down to the last 2 minutes of the ball game, and when they do that, you've got parity and you've got the excitement as the season wears on. Northeast Factory Direct, they've got the 1-year price guarantee. They also have 3 great locations to go with their website. You want to check the website before you do anything. That, of course, is more northeastfactorydirect.com. We'll come back in a moment. Bud Shaw is with us tomorrow night. Dennis Maniloff. Thursday night, Mary Kay Cabot. More sports and Les Levine, powered by cleveland.com.
Wow! Get Nature's Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Act now for huge summer savings on our exclusive Nature's Blend Stone, as low as $2.99 a square foot plus installation. Only Nature's Stone eliminates cracked, uneven concrete, and Nature's Stone never peels like cheap paints and coatings. Safe, beautiful garage flooring that's always backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor.
Wow, it's Nature's Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Odell, how do you you compare Baker right now to what you saw last year? Through this first week or two of camp, whether it's his mentality, his fitness, his athleticism, spin on the ball, whatever. And Baker said this week that your chemistry between the two of you is going to be way better than it was last season. Do you feel the same way? And if so, why is that?
Of course I'm going to say it's going to be better than last year. But again, it's kind of a day-by-day approach. And we'll see what happens when we get out on the field. As far as him, he looks great. Mentally, physically, he's got like a 4-pack now. So he's doing great, man. He's just in a good place. And as a teammate and as a guy who's always been a fan of Bake, as a brother, it's great to see him in this place. So we're just working each and every day. One of the biggest things, through COVID, through all of these things, just taking things one day at a time, really for me has been major. So just working on today, finishing out the day strong, worry about tomorrow.
Hey, Odell, now that you've gotten a good week and a half or so look at this offense with Kevin Stefanski, it's a little different on the field, I imagine, than learning over a computer screen. Do you get the sense that there's going to be some real opportunities for you to be who you are on the field, that big, explosive playmaker?
Definitely. I've watched, it's funny because I watched the Vikings for so many years. Diggs is like one of my favorite receivers. I remember I was at the rookie premiere when he was a rookie, and I was just there on business orientation thing, and just seeing him and and Thielen and the things that they've done for years. It's truly impressive. And I always was kind of wondering who was the one behind this. And we end up getting a guy. So there's definitely something to look forward to. But like I say, I think the most important thing that I've learned, whether it's being in this game or just, like I say, life happens, is taking it one day at a time and really focusing on that and never getting too ahead of yourself. I would love to sit here and be like, oh, the offense is going to, until week 1, 2, 3, 16, till you've seen what it does. I can't sit here and tell you what's going to happen, but as far as, hopes and expectations for it, I'm very excited for what we have in front of us.
All right, but he seems more comfortable. He seems better than in a better place than he was last year. But A, if that's the case, does that matter on the field when the games start? And B, is it pipe dreams also?
Well, let me say first, Les, that I feel this overwhelming urge now to take this show one segment at a time. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and predict success for the show. But minus the cliches that he shared with us, I think that the important thing he said is that let's see, let's win 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many it's going to be before we start talking again about how good this offense is going to be. And I think that's a good sentiment to come into this season with, because it certainly was not the case last year. I mean, everybody already had, Freddie is one of the most brilliant play callers in the league. This undiscovered gem of play calling, and Njoku's talent was going to be so obvious at tight end. And so I like what he's saying there. Go out and do it first, man. Let's see what you guys can do finally before we start telling everybody what you can do.
When a lot of times a new player comes in and they talk about, like in this case with Odell Beckham, and he's been here a year now, but he's talking about what he knew about Stefanski's offense in Minnesota. Do you think they make that up, or do you think they really know who's at the helm at all these different franchises? I mean, it's hard for me to believe that somebody's looking at Kevin Stefanski up in Minnesota and saying, that's the guy I want to run the offense that I get to when I become a starter in the NFL.
Yeah, I think wide receivers do one thing. They look at other wide receivers who are their friends and whether they're calling with a happy report from a Sunday game about how many balls they caught. And I don't mean to make them sound selfish, but they're all looking for that offense where they're going to stretch the field, they're going to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers. I mean, that's what this organization has been talking about doing for a number of years. Freddie was just the most recent of those guys, you know. He was always he was going to keep it simple, stupid. He was going to get the ball to his playmakers, and then whole stretches of games would go by where Chubb wouldn't touch it.
What went wrong?
I think it's too simple to say one or two things, Les. I think the offensive line protection wasn't great. I think Freddie, in general, though, I think got caught up in wanting to show people how creative he was as a play caller, as opposed to those situations where, so you got 2nd and 6. How about 2 handoffs to Nick Chubb sometimes? You know, you don't do that the whole game, obviously. You can't win in this league just doing that. But there were times when I thought that he got away from involving, to me, a guy who's one of the top 3 running backs in the league. And I know people will say, well, wait a second, he was at the top of the league in carries for most of the season. So obviously he wasn't being underutilized in volume, but I thought he was being underutilized in situations.
You brought up one of my least favorite plays of all time, and that is when it's 2nd and 7, and they do a running play and get 3 or 4, and then you're back. Then you got 3rd and another 3 or 4. You may as well, if you're going to wind up with the same situation, you may as well throw it on 2nd down, because the play could break for you. And other than that, I mean, 3rd and 3, you're doing them a favor if you're just running 2nd and 7 and then 3rd and 3. You're doing those guys a favor.
I'm sure you'll remember, and if you don't, Brian will. But was it the Rams game last year when they had all those snaps down at the goal line? It felt like they had 10 snaps down there. Was that the Rams?
Yeah, opening
when
game.
they just kept trying to
or not opening.
They were trying to run it or throw it to Odell Beckham Jr., knowing that the other team was going to get a pass interference call because it was only going to cost them a half a yard anyway.
It's unbelievable.
And then they just never ran the ball the way they needed to in some of those situations. So it's not all on Freddie. I mean, the personnel on the offensive line wasn't great. Mayfield did not have a good year. You can't blame everybody around Mayfield and give him a flyer and say it wasn't his fault too. So
yet everybody seems to agree with you that he had a bad year, but everybody also seems to agree that he's going to turn it around this year and be good. Are you in that camp?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the classic case of a guy who thought he arrived before he arrived. And when he came into the league last year in that Jets game, I mean, you were there, Les, I think. I know I was, and that stadium had a different feel to it. And suddenly that offense moved at a different clip, and guys were looking for the ball, and they were moving up and down the field, and he was making plays out of the pocket. And I think he came back last year expecting that it was just going to be more of that. And this league's not like that, man. They make you pay the price as a young quarterback. It very rarely does the ascent of a young quarterback just keep going up like an airplane.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. I just want to point something out. As you know, if you've been watching the show, we've got the Parkinson's disease walk coming up, and that's on the 13th of September. It's a virtual walk, and we'll give you more information, or you can check out the website. You see it right there. The name of my team is Moving More with Less, and we'd like you to join us on that day. And I just want to make mention of Mary Reed, who apparently is a viewer of the show. And, you know, we've been asking for contributions, $5, $2, $7. And Mary sent me the amount that staggered me, how much she sent in honor of this. And she said that money is in honor of a family and a friend and a member of her family, plus her favorite sportscaster. So I am honored that you have chosen me to be the recipient, or not me, but my family and In Motion, to be the recipient of such a great gift, and you're doing it for me and for your friend and family member. Couldn't thank you enough, Mary. Thank you so much. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Bud Shaw is with us, and tomorrow night Dennis Maniloff and Mary Kay Cabot will be here on Thursday. Let's take a break. Come on back in a moment. We are powered by cleveland.com.
We're living in uncertain times, but you don't have to put your future on hold. At Tri-C, you can move ahead while staying safe and saving money. The majority of fall classes will take place online, but we've added a variety of formats to meet your learning needs, and we've taken many steps to keep you safe on campus. Whether you're ready to get started or your four-year plans have changed, check out Tri-C's programs and resources, because Tri-C is where futures begin.
Well, hello everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Brown's Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get text sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week, and it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at Smiley One.
Hi, welcome back to More Sports and Les Levine. Les, Bud, apparently Yankees GM Brian Cashman has been in talks with the Indians about possibly making a trade. The Yankees' biggest need right now is pitching, and the Indians' biggest need right now is they need bats in the outfield. So Joel Sherman of New York Post laid out a potential trade option that the Indians and Yankees can pursue. For the Indians, they would get either Clint Frazier, Miguel Andujar, or both of them, as well as Davy Garcia, and the Yankees would receive Mike Clevenger. Now, Clint Frazier, we know he's been with the Indians before. He's in his fourth MLB season, 25 years old. This season, he's only appeared in 8 games so far. He's batting .333, hit 2 home runs and 8 RBIs. His best season with the Yankees was last year. He hit .267, 12 home runs, 38 RBIs in 69 games. We know he was part of the Andrew Miller deal back in a few years ago. Now, Miguel Andujar, he's played third base, and he's also an outfielder. He's played left field as well. He's 25 years old in his 4th MLB season. Now, he missed 2019 with a right shoulder strain, and this season he struggled out of the gate. He's hitting .095 with just 2 hits in 8 games, so he's been optioned to the alternate training site. But if he could return to form from 2018, he could be pretty good. He hit .297, 27 home runs, and 92 RBIs. Now, the prospect in this deal would be Davy Garcia. He's a right-handed pitcher, only 21 years old, but he rose through the ranks in the minor leagues last year, all the way up to AAA, and he's the Yankees' 3rd-ranked prospect. So Les, Bud, want to see what do you guys think of possibly trading Mike Clevenger, and what do you guys think of that deal?
If I'm going to do that, I got to get a big league bat ready to play right now, if they can do that. When I look at Frazier and I look at Andujar, but am I looking at injury-prone guys, or is that just fluke?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little hard to say. Frazier was drafted, 2013 now, so it's been 7 years since he was drafted. He's obviously
he went to New York in the 16 deal with Andrew Miller.
Yeah. You know, here's the thing about that deal. Like, to me, that was this organization at its best. It used the prospect, one of its top prospects, to get a guy that they transformed their bullpen. I mean, let's face it. He gave Terry Francona a piece that he had never had before, and he made great use of it, I thought. Now, did he use him up? Maybe, but I'd hate to see them turn around and deal Clevenger, who's now won double-digit games 3 years in a row. And now Clint Frazier becomes known for the guy that they got back and were less satisfied in that deal than they were in trading him for Andrew Miller. So I still like Clevenger. I like his stuff. I like his ability to win games and pitch deep into games. And I'm not ready to make that deal right now. And I realize the outfield is not a great situation right now, but I'm with you, Les. I mean, neither one of those guys says to me sure thing in the outfield this year for the Indians.
All right, so the Indians, they're at about the halfway mark of this truncated season. There, I got the word in, truncated.
Sure.
But what should the goals of this team be, and are they different than they were 2 months ago? I mean, is this series against Minnesota the one that just closes the book on the year, or what do they do?
I mean, I don't think so. What did the loss last night left them 2.5 behind?
Yeah.
It's still not a very good division.
They still probably have a wrap on a wild card.
Yeah, I mean, I think the goal, and I hate to be this guy because I haven't been this guy in past years. I was always like, hey, make your team as good as you possibly can before you get to the playoffs. Don't just tell me all you have to do in baseball is make the playoffs and things can go your way. Yeah, they can, but you have to give yourself every opportunity to make sure they do. But in this year, I feel like I wouldn't want to do something that compromises their rotation, and I think trading Clevenger would do that. To pick up a piece in the outfield that may or may not be, maybe as trouble or as struggling as Mercado by the end of the year, and then just say, well, we gave it a try. I don't think that deal is out there yet. It hasn't presented itself. I'm not making that Yankees.
What do you see when you watch Francisco Lindor this year? What do you see?
I don't know, Les. I see a guy that just hasn't been as selective in his pitches. You know, I mean, not that he was ever Carlos Santana when it came to that, but I thought he really set pitchers up. He didn't help them out, and I just see him helping them out, you know, this year. And I don't know why that is. Is he moving to a different spot in the lineup and feeling like he's got to drive the ball all the time? I don't know. I just know, you know, in a longer season, I would have no doubt that he was going to get it together and turn it around and become a big catalyst for what happens.
But he's swinging at bad pitches, as you suggest, and he just doesn't look like, I don't want to say it looks like he doesn't care, but he's not carrying himself the way he's done it in the past.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that probably is, these guys always say that they don't think anything about their situation, their contract. But certainly they do, and certainly in a season like this, it's, you know, every game goes by, if you're struggling, you start looking and thinking, hey, pretty soon we're going to be up at 30 or 40 games, and there's only going to be 20 left in the year. I mean, it does turn up the dial on everything.
East, West, and South, that's where you're going to find Northeast Factory Direct, and as well as the website, northeastfactorydirect.com. Check it out. West 140th Street near the airport, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, and Freeway Drive, that's at Macedonia. We'll come back in a moment. More Sports and Les Levine is powered by cleveland.com.
Never replace your basement flooring again. Act now for huge summer savings on our exclusive Nature's Pearl Stone, as low as $2.99 a square foot plus installation. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today. It's not just a floor.
Wow, it's Nature's Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Let's take a look at this date in sports history. Wow, look at this. The Cubs beat the Phillies 22-3, I believe, marking the highest scoring game in MLB history. Unbelievable. The wind was blowing out at Wrigley Field. What a day that was. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. And we have a question of the day for our Facebook users. What kind of trade, if any, should the Indians make before the deadline? Let's take a look at what Lawrence Butler says. Clevenger put the Yankees with the Yankees for Clint Frazier in return, plus some minor league parts. Perfect fit for both teams, and injuries to the pitching and lack of offense. Both players are under control for a while. But then again, Bud.
Yeah, what does he know?
What does he know exactly? Glenn Berger, Kevin Pillar, or Clint Frazier, or Miguel Andujar. Andujar is a butcher in the field. Frazier is a stud hitter who has a great future ahead of him. I say go for Frazier, and a prospect for Clevenger. Down goes Frazier. Wayne Richard Voss, Lyons. Wayne Richard Lyons says Clevenger for the Yankees for a trade that would get outfielders you can hit. Those guys. Yeah, he says he would trade Lindor right now. Jim Nagley says I don't think a big trade is feasible, which is why I would try to get Kevin Pillar from Houston and trade take a flyer on Hunter Pence. Hunter Pence is 63, I think. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. So there you have it.
That's like, Les, as you know, going way back to Kevin Seitzer and guys like that, Jay Bruce, of adding that veteran guy that they can count on in the outfield. I mean, maybe that's part of the plan this year as some of these teams really fall by the wayside. There's probably going to be more teams still involved in the playoffs, but there's already a couple that I think we can look at and say are not going to be involved. And maybe they'll be able to pick up a veteran bat that way. I just don't want to trade a pitcher of Clevenger's ability for a guy who's be an option to AAA this year because they can't find a spot for him. Andujar is not a good third baseman. He's terrible in the outfield, as someone pointed out there. And you're going to get a guy like that who's going to be a 20-something-year-old DH. I wouldn't make that deal.
Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Dan, who's in Hubbard, Ohio. Hello, Dan. Long time no talk.
How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
I'm very seldom. Hi, Bud. Very seldom I disagree with you guys, but and when you're talking about people with injuries, it looks like Clevenger's been injured a lot in the last 2 to 3 years.
He had a back problem.
He's missed games. He's had a back problem. He's had a shoulder problem a little bit. He had Tommy John when he was in the minors. I think when we did the trade with Clint Frazier in the beginning, we kept Zimmer over Frazier, and if you want anybody injury prone, look at Zimmer's history. I don't think he'll ever do anything for us.
No, I was actually surprised that he even played at all this year.
I am too, and I agree with Bud on one thing. He said pitching is such a premium in this league, but so scoring runs for good pitching, and we just are not doing that.
Let me ask both of this question. You heard from Chris Antonetti earlier today, and everywhere you go, you always hear what a great organization the Indians are. But how come they're able to do it with pitching, develop outstanding pitching within the organization, and then struggle? You can't find everyday players unless it's out of the Latin draft. I don't even know what they call it these days, but the Caribbean draft, I guess, and the international. There you go, the international draft. It makes you wonder how they're able to get pitching, and that's it. They don't get outfield help. They don't get infield help. Why is that? It's the same organization.
Lindor is the only good number one they've had.
Right. But that was from the international draft.
Was it? I thought he was out of Miami. out of high school.
Oh, that's right. Tampa, maybe, right?
Yeah, Florida somewhere, but he was a high school player.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I don't know. I thought they might have bailed on Mercado pretty quick.
Well, he didn't. He looked like a totally different player this year. I think you'd agree.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. But if you were going to deal one of the two pitchers, would you keep Plesac or Clevenger, Bud?
I mean, based on track history, I mean, Clevenger's won 38 games over the last 3 years.
It's a lot of games.
And he's still not an old, he's not an older pitcher yet. So I understand what you're saying, Dan. I mean, he's got that violent motion. He's probably going to have more injury problems than certainly than a guy like Shane Bieber is going to have.
He reminds me of the guy from San Francisco with the violent motion. What was his name?
Oh.
Still playing?
Yeah, I don't know if he's still hang on or not. He won big games for him and everything, and then he finally broke down.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I don't know right now.
Me neither. He had the long hair like that. That's what.
All right, Dan, we got to move. Thank you.
I have one more question, Les. On your website, is there an address where I can send a donation to your Parkinson's thing?
Yes.
My mother had that, and I'd like to send a donation in her name.
How's she doing?
She passed a few years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, that's okay, but I'd like to make a donation in her name. Is it on your website?
Yeah, it's on the website. You can see it on the screen right now, but check the website, and it's events at .beinmotion.com or .org.
Okay.
Okay, and that the team is moving more with less. Okay.
Okay.
Dan, thank you so much. It's appreciated. $5, $10 we would appreciate anything. Let's take a break. We're going to come back.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
Can I interrupt to say one thing? I think he's referring to Tim Lincecum. Remember him?
Oh, Tim Lincecum. Yeah, he was a little guy with long hair.
Yeah,
you're right.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. Go
I
ahead.
think the Indians drafted him first. They did.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Let's take a break. We'll come back one more time. I don't know if we got quickies or not. More sports and less Levine, powered by cleveland.com.
Wow! Get Nature Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Act now for huge summer savings on our exclusive Nature's Blend Stone, as low as $2.99 a square foot plus installation. Only Nature Stone eliminates cracked, uneven concrete, and Nature Stone never peels like cheap paints and coatings. Safe, beautiful garage flooring that's always backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor.
Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Dennis Maniloff, the D-Man, will be here tomorrow. You see us Monday through Friday from 6 until 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and replayed throughout the archiving all day long right here on cleveland.com. Bud Shaw is with us. Bud, anything you'd like to add to the proceedings here tonight before we put the gavel down on this show?
It doesn't look like we're going to get a chance. I'm going to get a chance to grade any How Come Quickies. So
that's exactly what it looks like.
I'm going to give myself. This is a 7.0 less. I'm giving that to myself as a ceiling because I stumbled over Kareem Hunt's name. So that was not a very good showing. Although I did come up with Tim Lincecum.
Yeah, you did that. I'm guessing you did that on your own.
It was a little late. Yeah, I did do that on my own.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add? Got to have something. Basically,
No, I mean,
we got to kill a minute is the story here.
I understand the frustration everybody feels with the Indians right now, but I still think that this is a team that, if it gets into that playoff series and can trot out Bieber and Savali and Clevenger and whoever else you want. I know Carrasco's not looking particularly great right now. Maybe Plesac comes back and gives them a couple. I still think they're pretty good. And my thought is, like it's been in every year, that Lindor's not going to keep hitting like this. He's going to come out of it.
I'd like to hear what Dan Plesac. I'd like to hear what he said to his nephew. I mean, here's a guy who played 12, 14 years in the big leagues, tough as nails kind of a guy. Yeah. He can't be happy with his nephew, I don't think.
We'll probably never know that part.
No, probably until the book comes out.
I don't think Zach's going to be sharing a whole lot with the media when he comes back, from the sound of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks to Bud Shaw, Dennis Maniloff tomorrow. Of all the shows I've ever done, this is the most recent.